It's always easier to generate 1% more capital than to generate 1% more return. I've given an example of say Hardik Pandya, right? Like he was in Bombay, Gujarat gave him a better deal.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. Captain Hardik Pandya.
He went to Gujarat, and then Mumbai gave him a better deal. He came back.
I am back. मेरे हार्दिक स्वागत के लिए thank you.
He is the ideal guy you should look at.
I think you would have thought some kind of a financial portfolio number that you need to hit it before coming to India.
I invested between 2007 to 2012, 13, around that way in equity market. So I actually have not invested any money or very little money besides those current of corpus which I have. And I think now with the compounding, just by leaving it there, right? I think it is like 4x or 5x. So overall, my portfolio combined, I would say.
What kind of challenges did you face? Because coming after 19 years to India, it's not easy for them to adjust.
When I calculated that the first 2 months, I had an outflow of 50 lakhs. I think the key thing is that there is always currency volatility. If you are actually investing in multiple countries, how do you compare?
So what is like rich life according to you?
For me, like I can decide to write a book, I can play tennis whenever I want.
Meet Bhasker Jaiswal, who was an NRI and decided to return to India for retirement. Here, we'll discuss his investing journey, the challenges he faced, and whether he has any regrets.
Hello Bhasker, welcome to Belong Podcast. I'm glad to host you.
Thanks, Aditi. It's good to be here.
Yeah, so I think your journey is really exciting where you decided to, come back to India and become financially free. So could you please walk us through your journey, like from starting?
Yeah, I graduated in 98 and then I started working in 98 only. And I worked in 3 cities in Delhi, Bangalore, Mumbai for around 5 years. And then from then, and that's when I started. And obviously at that time, in 98, like I started at around 6,000 and slowly over the course of 5 years, I grew to 50,000. That's a good growth. And then from then, 2003, I moved to Malaysia and I worked there for nearly 4 years. When I moved to Malaysia, I think obviously looking at the conversion, it will be around 15, 16 lakhs, around that much. So from 6 lakhs to 15 lakhs, obviously the multiple of moving abroad, and there was an incentive to move abroad besides getting exposure. And I think after Malaysia, when I moved to China, obviously China being a big market, the salary were around 45 lakhs. I'm not sure what the conversion is, but yeah, around that much. And then from then I just grew, and I was there for a long time. So then the salary crossed a crore, and I think ever since, yeah.
Got it. Interesting. So would you also like to talk about what exactly did you notice? What was the thinking process in all these countries?
What is more important is that once you're moving abroad, right? I think the key thing is that people are hiring you for the expertise. So in a way, you should be best in India. It's like people who play IPL, right? From foreign players, they're the best players, right? In that way. So in a way, you get a little bit of credibility as an expert when you go abroad to work, because you are like the chosen one. So I think that is which in India it's not there, because you are just one of many. So I think that is something which you can enjoy.
If I'll count your years, if I'm not wrong, how many years you have spent outside?
19.
19 years, and I think 3-4 years right now in India.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So I'm just I'm really interested to know what kind of challenges did you face? Because I think for someone who is coming after 19 years to India, it's not easy for them to adjust.
Yeah. So I think obviously there's a lot of, even though I was visiting, and I think for people in US who are coming, for them there will be a slightly bigger shock. But I think there is the biggest challenge, obviously, and I'll talk in the finance angle, is like is the cash flow requirement when you land, right? Because like even if you are renting a house, you have to pay deposit. You are basically you have to pay school fees upfront, buy white goods, So essentially, like you can have, like when I calculated that in the first 2 months, I had an outflow of 50 lakhs, right? And that is not that I was spending that money. It was like maybe deposit 10 lakhs, school fees 10 lakhs, shifting charges, And I think that the biggest challenge I faced, that actually I spent like those 30-40 lakhs on my debit card, because I did not have a credit card in India. And then to get a credit card, I did not have a CIBIL. And so eventually it became and I had to you have to pay the school fees, But anyways, if you have to pay to the agent or to the landlord, you have to pay. So I think that is kind of one shock you get is, okay, man, like there's a huge capital expense. So I think that's why maybe keeping in some money in Indian currency, and I had some mutual funds so I could liquidate them, right? So it's not too much of a stress. But I think that is very important. I think that's the one of the challenges. I think the second challenge is that India is now very, very digitized, right? So everything is connected. So Aadhaar, PAN, all those documents. So, and I think if you don't have an Aadhaar, then you essentially cannot enter the banking system. So I used to tell a lot of my friends, right, that, it's like, and luckily for me, I had an old account, but again, converting that NRE account to a domestic account is also a very complicated system, because I had a demat account linked to my NRE account. So I had to first close my demat account, then convert this account into this thing, and then they said, okay, now we can issue you a credit card. So I think there are a lot of hoops which you have to go through in that way, although the bank was very good and everything, but it just take a lot of tasks. So I think as long as you're mentally prepared for this thing, and if you have some cash, I think once you cross that, it's very easy. And I think people in India who are living, they would have done it at some point of time, right? But while you're shifting, adapting to your new city, a new country, this one, I think this is more about the systematic challenges. I think the second challenge, which living in any new country and coming back to India, is like how you value things, right? Because to me, this is your mental math, and usually like when you spend, say, 100 rupees on an auto, or 100 rupees on a Uber, or 100 rupees on a, like, whatever you spend, I think when you're living in a different country, the cost of goods and services are totally different. So we know that in Western countries, the services are very costly, right? So if you call a carpenter, it will cost you $100, right? In India, it won't cost you $100, right? In that way, it will cost you maybe $10 max in that way. So I think just when you are actually planning your spend, or actually spending, I think there's always a dissonance which you have when you think you're not getting value for money. I think that's the human nature of it. So I think that also requires adapting in that way, because essentially you will feel that everything is so cheap if you're coming from a country, if you convert back. But then, but you'll also realize that, oh, maybe you're not getting value for money.
So I think when you moved back to India, did you also feel that your lifestyle was not that good as it was in the other countries?
No, I don't think like this is again a perspective, right? And where you're coming from. So I think that this is what you value the most, right? I think if you value time the most, then India is a great country to be in, because your lifestyle, and I've actually come to India and got exposed to so many things, and I have so much time that I can even write a book, right? Right. So I think you have to just look at what perspective you had. Obviously, I think the good thing in India, two things which have happened, is that good or bad, I don't know if there is a jury out, but about these gated communities which have happened in various cities, right? And I visit my friends in Mohali, and I'm from Kanpur. In that, everywhere there's a concept of a gated community. For me, I don't see those problems in India, because you can India is, because it's so the services are so cheap, you can actually buy the problems, right? You need to send a packet, like suppose you're in US, right? And your daughter forgot a water bottle from school, right? You will essentially drive, and it's maybe a good 15-minute drive. In India, maybe the drive is 40 minutes, but you can send it via a porter, right? So you have to just adapt.
Now let's coming back to your journey.
Yeah.
I would love to know, like, when you were planning, like when you were coming back to India, I think you would have thought some kind of a financial portfolio number that you need to hit it before coming to India. So how did you plan for it? Like, how did you decide, okay, this much amount I need to come back to India?
No, so overall my portfolio combined, I would say it's like $1.5 million. There's different currencies are also there and stuff like that. But overall around that much, and around 50% in Indian equities. Yeah. And I would think maybe 5% in other assets like global equity and maybe gold in that way. And then the rest is like 30-35% is in commercial real estate, I would say. And then 15% is pure liquid. So it can be the EPF, NPS, fixed deposit, liquid funds, like for foreign currency account, right? So essentially that is the spread I have. For me, like my investment journey was essentially about the risk profile I have. So like when I was single and I had no kids, right, I was like fully into equity, and I think I invested between like 2 crores between 2007 to 2012, 13, around that way, in equity market. And then obviously my lifestyle changed. I had a kid, and also I started reverse diversifying. So I actually have not invested any money or very little money besides those current 2 crores of corpus which I have. And I think now with the compounding, just by leaving it there, right, I think it is like 4x or 5x, as the markets change, and that's what is. And the rest of the things is, as I talked about, in real estate and debt overall.
Okay, so basically what I've understood is that 2012-13 you were investing in Indian equities, and you make sure that amount is kept over there,
Yeah.
and it compounded over a period of a time. It has given you like 4x, 5x returns.
Yeah.
And later on you invested in Malaysian real estate
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, Malaysia is
purpose.
more debt and liquid
Okay, got it.
instrument, because it was just mostly about diversifying. Yeah.
So now, first I would love to double down on one thing that you said right now about currency. You have like diversified across currency also. Could you please deep dive into that?
Yeah, so I think when we make investment, and especially like an expat, right, I think the key thing is that there is always currency volatility. We know that, like for me myself, like I invested in India in 2007-8 when rupee was like 45 to a dollar, right, or maybe 5 to a yuan, right, RMB, which was my home earning currency at that point of time. And now it is like just double, right? Even yuan is around 11 right now, and dollar is also around 90. So I think that is something which is kind of erode or confuse your returns, because if you are actually investing in multiple countries, how do you compare? I think that is the key challenge which I faced as an expat, because like when somebody says it's 13%, right? Obviously they're talking on base currency. Your input currency may not be at the same rate, right? So therefore, for me to evaluate how my investments are doing, and especially what my investment goals are. So suppose I want a portfolio return of 10%, right? I think I may be getting 12% in rupees, but whatever time frame is. And I think it's very important, therefore, for one individual to like kind of have a base currency where he's actually allocating or measuring the returns, and that base currency can change later if your situation changes, right? And suppose I'm a US expat or a foreign expat, and then I'm calculating everything in based in USD, right? And which is fair. But if somebody moves to India for long term, then you can change your equation. But I think there's always, you need to actually have that currency thing in your calculation so that you can make better judgments on your investment. And I think there's also like, if you actually invest in from USD to INR and back to this thing, I know a lot of my friends who have done that, and they always say that, oh, not only they got a lower return, but they also paid twice the currency conversion charges, right? I say. So, and usually, and like 1.5% is going either way when you're converting. So I think that is a huge thing. So I think that's why I think again you have to deduct it from the return you've got, right? Yeah.
So when you talk about equities, do you invest like direct stocks or through mutual funds?
No, mutual fund. I don't. I think I value my time very much, and also I'm not an expert. So I think anybody who thinks they have. Obviously, if you're a full-time investor and you're doing technical analysis, fundamental analysis, yeah, sure, you go it. But I would say that if you are doing a job, right, I think your core expertise is about doing the job, right? Whatever you are, whether you're an engineer, architect, or doctor, whatever, right? That is your core expertise, right? And to me, that is where you should spend your time to get better, because in my view, what is the key thing of investing is, one is about return, which people are chasing. But the biggest thing I think is that the capital deployed, right? I think that is the key thing, and the time, obviously, in that way. So I think I would say the delta on getting return, getting eventual return, I think I always, as I say, is always easier to generate 1% more capital than to generate 1% more return. Can you go and beat all the analysts in the market and all the geopolitical risk and deliver 1% more when you are not even that a subject area expert? If you look at, like, I've given an example of, say, Hardik Pandya, right? Like, he was in Bombay, Gujarat gave him a better deal, he went to Gujarat, and then Mumbai gave him a better deal, he came back, right? He is the ideal guy you should look at, because he is something who is actually maximizing his worth.
Now I have one more questions. As you you have like a lot of NRI friends, then have you noticed like what are misconceptions they do have regarding like returning back to India or retiring in India?
Yeah, so I think this is something which most NRI should realize, that what they always think their life is tough, because when they come to India, maybe they are staying with their parents or like their relatives or whatever, right? More because that is the major objective of coming back to India. I think, and then you think about, you benchmark that life with yourself. But actually, and same for me also, right? In that way. But when you as an NRI come back, you are actually going to live a totally very different life. So I think drawing benchmarks with what your friends are doing who have never gone abroad, or go benchmark with how your parents' lifestyle is, or your relatives' lifestyle is not the right benchmark, because that is where you kind of get spooked in terms of saying, oh, it's so tough. Because you are not coming here to compete in the rat race. You are not coming here and you have this financial goals. So your starting point is very different in that way. So in a way, it's better to talk to other NRIs, maybe like me or others in that way, but who can give you a benchmark of how they have managed it, and the lot of these problems which exist are not there, because you are just very different in a way. I think that's number one, I would say. I think the other thing is that to me, the key decision of when to move to India, which you are referring to, I think that is not actually dependent on individuals right now. I think everybody, like you were saying, that I'll move next year or whatever. I think a lot of times the decision is, if you get a green card or a PR for a different country, then you're kind of going to stay there, right? I don't see very few people with PR or American citizenship coming back unless their career is over. So that's not a decision. Like I know some people who went to US, worked for 20 years, and they reached 60, and then they decided to come back. So, but they were already going through a big life change. Changing a country was just another part of it. It's not like, okay, at a middle somebody at this point, and this is same to the cliff of the financial independence kind of a thing, that nobody will ever have a goal, because like as I think the Morgan Housel says that if you ask anybody how much money you need, it's always double of what they have, right? They have 10 rupees or 10 crores, right? So I think nobody ever stops. So I think usually the coming back to India is always determined by a different life change. It may be your visa situation, it may be your retirement, it may be your parents' health, whatever. It's out of your control. So I think that is not something which you can plan. I think as long as you're doing well in your career, they keep going overall there. And then when the time comes, you come, but you just be more open to the change which you're going to encounter here. Yeah.
Got it. So, I understood your perspective, and I do understand the kind of misconception people do have. Now, I have one more question to you. So as you came back to India, and so what is like rich life according to you? Like living abroad was rich life while working over there, and or coming back here?
Yeah, so I think rich is again a very financial term, right? But people also talk about physical wealth, and so I think rich is they obviously, if you can look at numbers, right? So in my view, I think people feel rich not about the amount of money they have, but how much richer they are. And when I say richer, it's like, what is the how many people you are richer than, right? And if you look at in India, the top 10%, if you want to be in top 10 percentile of income, you have to be 3 lakh per annum. So actually, anybody is very rich. We just don't realize it, right? I think the more important thing is that how much time you have and how much independence you have in terms of it. So to make your decisions, like for me, like I can decide to write a book, I can play tennis whenever I want. I think just making your decision and also continue to work, right? Just being able to do all the things which you want is what makes you rich, right? And to me, like I always have one currency for being rich is sleep. Like if you can sleep 8 hours a day, you are very rich, right?
That's such a thoughtful message. Thank you so much. Thank you, Bhasker, for being here and sharing your insights with us. It means a lot to us.
Thank you, Manoj.